The focus that I have today is actually jobs and creating jobs specifically. Higher paying, benefit-rich, skilled labor jobs. I'm announcing a 10-point plan. Now, as I've traveled around the district, what I found is the average person doesn't feel the recovery that they talk about. They mentioned a recovery in the country that's lasted for about 4 years. The average American isn't feeling that. They've experienced stagnating wages, slashed benefits, and just a difficult time, more burdens on their families. And so I want to put a distinction or create a distinction between myself and my primary opponent, and then also between myself and the current congressman. So I'm announcing a 10-point jobs plan, which is a combination of some of the Democratic and Republican ideas that are currently out there, and an emphasis on investment, as well as tax credits and tax breaks to help out small businesses right here in Quincy and in our local community. The first part of the jobs plan is a $100 billion investment in infrastructure to pave our roads, rebuild our bridges, expand our highways. That's a $100 billion investment that will directly create high-paying, skilled labor jobs right here in the 18th district and in the country in general. Point two is a $50 billion investment in the form of block grants to states, and the states can then determine how they want to use them best, but it would be for the purpose of hiring additional teachers, firefighters, police officers, and first responders. So that $50 billion for that specific purpose. Locally, we know we've lost some first responders, some firefighters, and definitely some teachers over the last few years. Since 2010, 100,000 teachers have been cut nationally. So that would go directly to filling those positions that have been lost in the last few years. Point three is a Veterans WPA, which is a New Deal style program to help our veterans transition from their military careers into civilian life. The unemployment rate for our veterans is higher than the national average. There are more veterans on food stamps than the national average, and it's just that there's a real difficulty for them to transition. These jobs would be specific, similar to their military jobs, maybe in law enforcement or construction, so it would bolster some of the first two points that I mentioned already. So it's a WPA plan. That's a $25 billion investment in those plans. So these are all designed to create immediate jobs right here in our district and across the country. Now, in terms of tax credits and tax breaks, I want to help out small business. We can expand on the current tax credits that are available today, giving additional tax credits for businesses that hire workers that have been out of work for more than 1 year. So they would get an additional tax credit if they hired workers who were in that circumstance. Extension of the payroll tax holiday to help out middle-class families directly. Investment in skilled labor. These skilled labor investments will be for technical schools, certification programs. In the recovery that I mentioned before, there has been some job creation. Most of it has been low-paying jobs. We want to give the workers the skills that are necessary, welders, construction workers, and the like, so they can use those skills even if they have to leave the 18th district and move somewhere else. So an investment in technical schools and certification programs. In addition to that, I am proposing a tech investment tax credit for small businesses to expand their customer base. This would be over and above their current technology, like internet, for example. This would be video conferencing software so they can sell their products. So we can make a local business, a regional business, and a regional business a national or even an international business to increase their customer base. Also, this is a Republican idea, but I think that there could be ways to roll back regulation. There's redundancy in the system between different agencies. We can eliminate those redundancies, and we can also eliminate needless regulations and still protect the workforce and the population. And 9, I have an idea of bringing American businesses back by eliminating taxes that prohibit businesses or create a situation where corporations have decided they want to send jobs overseas. This is a really innovative plan that would involve a reformation of the tax system that we have today. If businesses, corporations meet certain criteria, their tax burden would be lowered pretty significantly. That would be 90% of their workforce, for example, being American. Union labor, providing important benefits. If they meet those criteria, then their tax burden in the corporations would be lowered as low as zero, even if they meet all of the criteria. That would help out businesses like our local businesses like Knapheide Manufacturing, for example. And then finally, my 10th point is equal pay for women. It's not just an equality issue, it's to bolster business and increase the purchasing power for women. So this is a 10-point plan that I'm laying out today to show a distinction between what I would do, and I'm announcing this, but the very first day I would show up in Congress, I would introduce this bill. Jobs would be my primary focus, increasing the jobs and the purchasing power of the people in the 18th district. Thank you.
Sounds great. How do you pay for it?
Well, the initial 3 programs that I mentioned, the infrastructure, the block grants for the states, and the WPA program for veterans add up to $175 million. The top tax bracket right now is sitting at $375 million. So what we can do, or $1,000, I'm sorry. So what we can do is bump up that top tax bracket to 1.5 million by only 1%. So it's not a massive increase. It would be a very small, slight increase only for those making $1.5 million or more. And that would pay for the program. The current programs that are currently suggested right now are less than half of this and call for a even less tax increase, but in just another 0.5 increase in taxes can allow us to have those infrastructure investments that are needed.
Thank you.
What would the public notice immediately?
Well, the public would notice immediately those first 3 programs that I'd mentioned as part of the 10-point plan. They would notice a improvement in the road conditions, the safety of our jobs. They would notice increased teachers in the classroom for their students, lowering the class sizes. They would notice increased firefighters, first responders, and police officers. Those would be immediate, and these would be higher paying skilled jobs.
On the onshoring point, you were talking about one of the things about that would be have union labor as well?
That could be one of the criteria. This is a starting point for an idea. I would like to, if the businesses like, say, Knapheide Manufacturing, keep their business local. It's a union labor force. They provide good benefits. They're doing everything that we ask of them. They're not outsourcing jobs. Their corporate tax rate could be reduced significantly. And I would propose, if they are living up to their responsibility within their communities and to their country, that their tax rate could be lowered as low as 0. If you look at the corporate taxes just in general, it makes up about 10% of the revenue. So we're not talking about a large amount of revenue. We would have to make that up in different taxes, which I've outlined actually on my website and my tax plan.